apologize. Yeah, no, during it, please. Okay, everyone be seated, please. Mr. Kramer?
Proceed, Your Honor.
Yes.
Good afternoon, Mr. Jones.
Good afternoon.
And Mr. Donatoni left me a few little nuggets to question you on, but I'm going to proceed now. You told the jury that you knew my client, is that correct?
Yes.
And what was the first year that you met him, that you can recall?
I thought I could recall when I first moved up to Gardens.
When was that?
I don't know what year it was.
Was it before 2000?
Yes.
Okay. Was it before 1995?
I can't recall. I know it was before 2000.
And you're aware of the fact that from September of 2006 forward in time, that is to the current time, you have not seen my client in the area of Perkins Street or the Highland Gardens section of Chester City. Is that correct?
Until you came home.
I'm sorry?
I said until.
Listen to my specific question. From September 2006 to the current time, you have not seen my client in that area. Is that correct?
Yes.
Prior to September of 2006, when is the last time that you had any involvement with my client?
Don't know.
Okay. So it could have been 2000?
Really don't know.
Okay. So you have no idea whatsoever to tell this jury when that time was. Is that correct?
Yes.
From the year 2006 forward, approximately, how many drug sales were you involved in on a weekly basis? You said you were out there maybe 10 hours a day,
Yeah, I
sometimes
was out
more,
there all
sometimes
day.
less. Approximately per day.
A lot. That's all I can say.
What's
A lot.
Is it more than 5, more than 10?
More than
15?
10. More than 15. A lot of
Sometimes.
sales.
Sorry.
Sales come up, walk up, drive up. Sales down there.
What's the largest number of sales that you've been involved in, one-on-one sales per day?
What you mean? Like
That
the
is
largest
sales
I
that
make?
you interacted with one customer, you being the sole seller per day.
The most I made with one sale was $300.
300 what?
$300. Yeah.
Okay. I don't think you understood the question. I'll repeat it. Where you were the only seller, how many times did you sell per day, maximum? What was the greatest number of times you sold?
Oh, wait,
No.
you're asking two
Yeah.
questions. You want to know when he was the only seller?
Correct.
In what period
One-on-one.
of time?
I'm talking about on any given day from 2006 forward,
Where he was the only seller?
Correct.
Where?
on Perkins Street.
All right, and then what the question is?
That was the question. Right?
No. I mean, how many sales did he
Yeah,
make?
the maximum number of sales per day that you made on Perkins Street in the years 2006 to 2009.
Don't know.
Wait a minute. To say the maximum per day is an ambiguous question.
All right,
You want to know
I'll rephrase
the
it.
most he ever
Yeah.
sold in any one day?
Exactly.
All right, you understand the question?
How much I sold to one person? Like,
Well,
one day?
as I understand the question, it is, what is the maximum number of sales you had on any one day when you were selling drugs on Perkins Street?
I can't recall like how many sales on that exact day, but a lot of sales.
Next question.
All right. And you told this jury that you had at one point split a sale or sales with my client. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. Now, you don't remember what year that was, do
No.
you?
No.
Okay. It could have gone as far back as the year 1999. Is that correct?
I don't didn't think he was selling back then at 99. Like, I don't really remember when he started selling, but I split sales with him. Yes,
And that would have been 1996 or earlier, is that correct?
before 1996, yes.
Okay. And you would agree with me that since September of 2006, we're almost 5 years past that point to this day, correct?
Yes,
And in that 5 years, you've sold thousands of times to individuals who've come into the Highland Garden section of Chester City, is that correct?
yes,
Now, you said in your own words on direct examination that when a customer would pull up onto Perkins Street or Nolan Street, that whoever got there first basically would be the seller, is that correct?
yes,
And when these cars pulled up onto Perkins Street or Nolan Street, you did sell on Nolan, is that correct?
I chased a couple sales up on that street, yes.
Okay, it wasn't exclusively on Perkins Street that you sold, is that
Yes.
correct? And what other streets may you have sold on during this time period of '03 to '09?
Swartz,
Swartz? Okay. Where was the bulk of your sales? Where did those take place? On which
on
streets?
Perkins Street.
On
Most of them
Perkins?
on Perkins Street, yes.
And when these vehicles or people on foot walked onto or drove onto the 1300 block of Perkins Street, people came out of their homes, that is, people that you knew to make the sale, is that correct?
Yes,
Did you sometimes get into fights or verbal arguments with other individuals on that same block of Perkins?
what you mean, like,
People fighting over making the sale. This is my sale, not yours.
yeah, you had some of that going on sometime.
Did you fight with your own friends?
Yeah, you can argue with them.
Okay. Did it ever end up in a fist fight?
Nah, no,
Okay, but you would have verbal arguments as to who was going to make the sale and who was going to profit. Is that correct?
yes,
And the money that you described, or that you told the jury that you made during the course of the 10 years that you sold, which is approximately, by my calculations, $1.5 million, that all went into your pocket. Is that correct?
yes,
You didn't have a joint account with anybody else that was named in this indictment, or anybody else, period.
a joint account,
Yeah,
like a
you
bank
didn't have
account.
a bank account where you put your profits,
Nah,
and you didn't have a room or a stash house for your money that anybody else could dip into, correct?
No.
What you made was yours, is that right?
yes,
Wasn't passed on to the top.
no,
You told the jury that when you would observe the police in the area, whether they came on at Nolan, Swartz, or Perkins Street, what you would yell out is holler one time, which meant police, correct?
yes,
Or you would just use the word police.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
yes.
You never had a scanner in your hand, did you?
There was a scanner down there.
Did you have one in your hand?
No,
And did you ever communicate with anybody on a police scanner?
no,
So basically, your counter surveillance techniques, that is, the actions that you took when you saw the police to avoid being detected, was you would yell out police, or the other expression, holler one time. Is that correct?
yes,
And if people heard it, they would stop doing what they were going to do, the illegal drug activities. Is that correct?
yes.
Outside of that, was there any other type of communication that you used with other people on Perkins Street, Nolan, or Swartz?
What you mean?
That is, did you use any kind of coded language with them other than those expressions?
One time, police, 5-0.
5-0, just another term
Yeah,
for
for
the police,
police,
is that correct?
yeah.
And you would just use your voice,
Yeah.
correct? You didn't use cell phones to warn anyone or give them a heads up,
No.
did you? I have nothing further. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Pasica?
Thank you, Honor. Mr. Jones,
Yes,
at any point in time when you were out there selling drugs, did you see Special Agent Clark out there?
yes,
And how about Special Agent Updegrad from DEA?
yes,
And did you see each of these gentlemen while you were selling drugs on more than one occasion in that neighborhood?
yes,
So if you saw them on more than one occasion, may I assume, sir, that their presence, just by the virtue of you seeing them, that didn't cause you to stop selling drugs, did it?
we had stopped when we see them come through.
And then when they leave, you start it right back up?
Yeah,
Exactly. Now, can we have the plea agreement exhibit B? Thank you. Jones, in this case, the government has asked you to relinquish your ownership in certain properties, is that true?
Yes.
And the property that they're seeking to obtain from you, that was part of your plea agreement, was it not?
Yes.
And specifically, you and your attorney read that plea agreement before you signed it, correct?
Yes.
And the part of the plea agreement which focused on you giving up your property, you and your lawyer read that also,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
And your attorney's present in the room right now, is he not?
Yes.
And in that plea agreement, sir, you agreed to give up your rights in a submachine gun, true?
A submachine gun.
One replica submachine gun?
That was one of the guns they found down there.
Well, did you sign that document saying that you were giving up any interest you had in that gun?
Yes.
Did you also agree to give up your interest in a Smith & Wesson .45 caliber semi-automatic firearm?
A Smith & Wesson .45 caliber.
Did you sign that document giving up your right in that?
Objection, Your Honor. If counsel could read what it says.
Well, you can show it to him.
Can I approach it, Judge?
Well, if he doesn't recall, do you recall what you signed?
Yes, I recall what I signed.
I'm just objecting to how counsel is characterizing this agreement.
Well, it's a,
And what it says. It says
well-
interest that he may have in it, not that he does have in it. That was my only objection.
Okay,
I'll
well,
rephrase it. Do you recall signing a document, Mr. Jones, where you abandon your right, title, and interest that you may have in certain firearms?
Yes.
And as a matter of fact, you were shown a list of approximately 17 items that were firearms and ammunition, true?
Yes.
And after looking at that list, you signed it, right?
Yes.
And your lawyer signed it, right?
Yes.
Now, may we agree that when you went down that list, at no point in time, sir, did you cross anything out and say, wait, that's not mine? You didn't do that, did you?
No, sir.
And at the bottom of the document dealing with the rights to property, the interest you were giving up, did you not sign, you agree that the forfeiture requirements of this agreement do not amount to extraordinary acceptance of responsibility? Did you sign off on that?
Yes.
And that by you agreeing to give up your interest or your rights in any property, that's not a reason to depart downward from your guidelines. You recall signing that?
Yes.
Now, in this paperwork, where you're giving up your rights and your interest, do you not agree, sir, by signing that you forfeit the right, title, and interest in the sum of $2 million?
Yes.
So you signed off on that in the presence of your attorney as a request of the government?
Yes. Yes.
Now, this $2 million obligation that we're speaking of,
Mhm.
have you given them dime one yet?
No.
Has the government come to you and said, Mr. Jones, when are you going to start paying us our money back?
No.
Objection.
well, Mr. Castillo, I'm not sure it's a note. It's a,
It hasn't been signed.
it's an account receivable by the government. I think it's a,
There's no,
waiver of forfeiture.
the objection is there's no judgment entered.
There's not, I don't think
against
there's a
Mr. Jones, so there
judgment
is
or
nothing to
it's
collect.
or it's an agreement to pay. I think he's giving, as I recall the document, he's giving up any right he may have to claim any interest in that amount of money. But you can show him the exact document if you want to.
May I approach him then, sir?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. So, Judge, take a look at paragraph A.
Mhm.
I want you to read it before I ask you a question, okay?
All right. Do you want the jury to see it or not?
If it could be published, Your Honor, it's attachment C to the plea agreement. Have you read it, sir?
Yes.
Now, Mr. Jones, I'll rephrase the question. Have you given up the right, sir, to $2 million?
Yes.
You have, true?
Yes.
But you know, do you not, that giving up your right to $2 million and giving up any interest you may have in all of those weapons, that's not enough to help you at the time of sentencing, is it?
No.
It's your testimony that will help you, true?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
And when you first met with the government, when you first met with them, you spoke to them and you provided them with certain information, true?
Yes.
And after you gave them certain information, they wanted to speak with you again, right?
Yes.
So a matter of fact, you had to meet with him up to 6 times before coming into this courtroom, true?
Yes.
And as a result of the 6 meetings that you had, then, and only then, did you get the language in your plea agreement that what you say could possibly help you. Isn't that right?
Yes.
More so than the money and the weapons. True?
Yes.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Mr. Burke?
Mr. Jones, when you were first arrested by the federal agents in this particular case, you were housed at the Federal Detention Center, correct?
Yes.
Now, how long were you housed at the Federal Detention Center before you decided to plead guilty?
I don't remember how long.
Well, let me ask you this question. When you finally decided to plead guilty and cooperate, did you do so out of a motivation to tell the truth, a desire to tell the truth, or a desire to garner favor and get a reduced sentence?
To tell the truth.
So you did not look to get a reduced sentence. You just wanted to tell the truth, right?
Yes.
Because you're just a truthful guy, right?
I wanted to tell the truth, and I know by me telling the truth, I could get some type of downward departure.
Downward
Telling the
departure.
truth. Yes.
That means the government asking the sentencing judge to please reduce his sentence, correct?
I don't know if they asked the judge to please do it.
They file a motion requesting that happens, correct?
Yes.
And some of this is what you're talking about here, you learned from the Boyle Street testimony, correct?
Yes.
So when you testified in the Boyle Street case, you did so out of a desire, correct, to be a truthful person, correct?
Yes.
And then immediately after, well, what year was it that you testified in the Boyle Street case?
06, I think.
06. And then immediately after, you came into a federal court before a federal jury like this with your incredible desire to tell the truth. You went right back out and began living a life of crime again, didn't you?
Yes.
Okay. Well, when you went back out in 06 to dive right back in to your life of crime, in addition to smoking marijuana all day and drinking booze all night, you also took pills and syrup, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what pills and syrup are.
Drugs.
Okay, like what kind of pills are they?
Took E-pills and Xanax bars.
What's the first one?
E-pills.
E-pills?
Yes.
What are they, ecstasy?
Yes.
Okay. And that's a hallucinogen, right?
I guess so, yes.
Makes your brain all crazy, right?
Yes.
And what was the other pill you took?
Xanny bars.
Xanny bars, also hallucinogen, right?
Yes.
Okay, and then on top of that, when you took those pills, you drank something, right?
Yes.
What'd you drink?
Liquor.
How about cough syrup, too?
Cough syrup. I was just drinking cough syrup.
Just drinking cough syrup that has codeine in it, right?
Yes.
And it makes sort of a woozy effect on you, correct?
Yes.
Now, when you were asked on cross-examination by Mr. Donatoni, he said you were high all day and you drank all night, too, correct?
Yes.
And your testimony was that you remember everything that happened for all those years, correct?
Well, sort of everything. That's everything.
Well, now that you've just admitted to the jury that in addition to drinking and smoking marijuana, you were also taking narcotics, okay? Now let me pose a question now. Taking all of those narcotics, drinking all that booze, and smoking all that weed, is it your testimony here today in front of the jury that you still remember very clearly everything that happened?
Yes.
Now, you testified at first when you first started selling down, I think you said in 2003 you testified you were selling down at the Boyle Street area?
Yes.
And then at some point later in time, you started to sell up at the cutoff, correct?
I
Up at Perkins
went
Street.
down on the other Perkins Street first.
Okay,
1400 block of Perkins Street.
okay, what were you
Then
selling at that time?
Powder.
And you didn't need anybody's permission, correct?
No.
You just went and did it on your own, correct?
Yes.
Okay, because you could sell there as long as you were from there, correct?
Yes.
And you were from there at that point in time.
Yes.
So no permission was necessary by anybody.
No.
You were an independent contractor, correct?
Yes.
Now, at some point later in time, on direct examination, let me rephrase that. On direct examination, you testified that you would bag up drugs in Rambo's house, correct?
Yes.
And then there was a couple of other houses that you mentioned. Could you tell me what those names were? I couldn't write them down fast enough.
Rainbow House,
Right.
Rundown Ozzy House, Tanya House,
Right.
Rat Boy House, and Mac House,
Okay, so a total of 4 or 5 houses?
and Kim House.
You know, so about 6 houses.
Yes.
Now, you also mentioned on direct examination this morning the names of the people that you would bag up drugs in those houses, correct?
Yes.
And you said that it was your brother, right?
Yes.
And you said that it was Scooby,
Yes.
Butch,
Yes.
Mo,
Yes.
And that was it, right?
Yeah, that's all I can remember.
That's all you can remember. So, out of all these houses that you were bagging up drugs in, and this is over the course between 2006 and 2009,
Yes.
you never saw my client, Clyde Thomas Hall, bagging up drugs in these houses, correct?
No.
Now, you also testified on cross-examination this afternoon that said that when you went out there to sell in the area of the Highland Gardens, that you would basically go out there anytime you wanted to, correct?
Yes.
And you would leave anytime you wanted to.
Yes.
You would make as much money as you wanted to, or as much money as you could, and you left on your own, right?
Yes.
When you were done, did you have to check in with a higher commander?
No.
Nobody over you, right? You didn't have to say, hey, I'm done for the day, and here's my money, and can I have my share,
No.
correct?
No.
Didn't work like that, did it?
No.
You made as much as you wanted, and you kept it all, correct?
Yes.
Now, you also said that when you were out there at the 1300 block, 1306 Perkins Street, there was a stash house, correct?
1308.
I'm sorry, was it 1308? I apologize.
Stash house 1308.
I stand corrected. Thank you, sir. At 1308, you said you kept your drugs there, correct?
Yes.
And you also kept the gun there.
Yes.
Now, on cross-examination by Mr. Donatoni, you said that the drugs that were in that house that were yours were only for you, correct?
Yes.
Like, you couldn't go in there and use somebody else's stash, right?
If I knew where it was at and I ain't have nothing, I could go grab it.
Would you have to clear that with somebody?
I'd grab it and tell him I made a sale out of his stuff and give him the money.
And give him the money? Like a loan, correct?
Not like a loan, that was his stuff.
Right? And you give him the money?
Yeah.
Okay? And the gun that was in the house, that gun was for you to use, right?
Yes.
And you testified on cross-examination that that gun, that was yours, and somebody would have to ask you to use it, correct?
Yes.
Okay? Now, you also listed the names of the people who used 1308 Perkins Street as a stash house. Remember that?
Yes.
You said me, Scooby, Butch, Mo, and there was one other name.
I said me, Najee, Thomas Jones, Butch.
Right. Not Clyde Thomas Hall, correct?
No.
Now, you also testified, Mr. Jones, about the use of cell phones to make drug sales. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Now, is it fair to say that it's advantageous for a guy in your position to have a steady flow of customers, correct?
Mhm.
And is that
Can we
yes?
say yes or no?
Yes.
please?
And if a cell phone sale comes in, that person would be a steady customer of yours, correct?
Yes.
And they would call you up and say, I'm coming through, correct?
Yes.
And I need whatever I need, 4 dimes or whatever,
Yes.
correct? And they would come through, and you'd make the sale, correct?
Yes.
Now, if the person called you, a steady customer of yours, somebody else who was out there on Perkins Street couldn't go up and make the sale, could they?
I tell him that that person called me.
That person called me, it's my customer, correct?
Yes.
You didn't share that profit, correct?
If I had all the stuff, I'd make the sale myself. If not, I'd ask somebody for some pieces to
And
make
you
the
would
sale.
break off money for him,
Yeah.
okay? But the customer was yours.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, you didn't have to go back and tell anybody who was above you about what transpired, correct? Now, when you first came in to speak to the federal agents on this case, you testified that you wanted to come in and tell the truth, correct?
Yes.
Now, when you spoke to the federal agents, were you completely honest about your involvement on what you were doing down Perkins Street?
I was a little shaky at first.
So when you testified earlier when I started my cross-examination, your desire to tell the truth was a little questionable at first, wasn't it?
Yeah, I ain't wanna be no cop at first. I ain't wanna.
Well, was it after you realized that you could spend the rest of your life in jail that you suddenly decided to want to be truthful?
That's how I was. Just at first, I didn't wanna tell.
Right. Well, did they drag you over there? Did you ask your lawyer to ask you to come over?
I just start talking.
No, I mean from the federal prison over to the William Green building.
What you mean?
Like they didn't drag you over there. You told your lawyer set up a meeting. I want to talk.
At first I was a little shaky. Then I think like that same day I just went in.
Right. So the first time you met with him, how long did you meet him? An hour, 2 hours?
Can't really say how long. Like
Well, at the conclusion of the meeting, were you being completely truthful about everything you were saying?
not at first.
So then you go back and you have to have another meeting, right?
Yes.
Because you were told, hey man, You're not telling us what we want to hear, so you're not getting a deal, right?
Nah, it was like, at the beginning, I wasn't telling them everything. I didn't want to, then I just started talking, like, tell everything.
Okay. Well, after the second time that you were at the meeting with the federal agents, correct?
Yes.
And the U.S. attorneys, had you been completely truthful that time?
Yes,
And did you tell them everything that you knew about what had happened down Perkins
I
Street?
just started telling them everything.
But you had to go back for a third meeting.
Yes.
Because did you hold that information back from the second meeting?
Nah, I just wasn't done talking.
Wasn't done talking. Well, let me answer this question. By the time you were done, all of your proffer sessions with the agents and the U.S. attorneys, did you tell them everything?
After I got done, yeah,
Were you completely truthful?
yes.
Okay. Now, this afternoon, you testified that, now, let me ask this question. You wouldn't, did you deliberately include anybody in any particular act out in Highland Gardens just to get them in trouble to please the U.S. attorneys?
No,
Would you ever deliberately exclude somebody
No,
from a
sir.
particular act that you said happened in the Highland Gardens area to cover for them, because maybe they're a friend of yours or something?
No, sir.
You were truthful about everybody's actions?
Yes.
Now, this afternoon, you testified when the U.S. attorney asked you a question about split sales,
Yeah.
right? Tell me what a split sale is.
Like you splitting the sale, like me and another person putting stuff together to make the sale.
Like when we saw in the video,
Yes,
remember that?
yes,
You didn't have enough of the product,
yes.
or you did have
I
enough
didn't
of the
have
product?
all the products, so
You split the money,
yes,
okay? Did that happen a lot?
yes,
Okay. You also testified that Clyde Thomas Hall, you did that with him, correct?
yes.
Did you have an opportunity to review your 302s from the FBI?
No,
Those
not
are
really.
summaries of your statements to the federal agents.
Not
You didn't have an
really.
opportunity to review them.
No,
But you testified just now that everything you said was truthful.
yes,
You didn't include or exclude anybody.
no.
Referring to Walker 3107 at the bottom.
Objection, Your Honor, the witness has said he has not reviewed it, and he has certainly not adopted it. That he's not the proper witness to ask that question of.
Well,
He has to ask the
All
author
right.
of the document.
well, I'm going to say, did you only tell, in your proper sessions, did you tell the agents that you had split transactions with both Kareem Shahir and Brent Hull only?
On that one specific sale. That sale that we split, that y'all seen a video of earlier.
Well, it's surprising to know that in your 302, you don't mention having a split
Objection.
sale with Clyde
Objection.
Hull at all.
Wait, just now. Sustain. You can rephrase the question.
Did
You can ask him whether he did or didn't make a particular statement, but you can't cross-examine him on the document unless you can lay a foundation that he has seen the document or
Did
has
you-
used it.
Yes, sir. I didn't mean to interrupt the court. I apologize.
That's all right. Go ahead.
Did you tell the agents and the U.S. attorneys that you had one split sale with Clyde Thomas Hull?
I split sales with him, yes.
You told them that.
Yes.
How many times did you tell them that?
I don't remember. I told him I split sales with everybody down there that's on this indictment.
Like, you want to include as many people in the indictment, correct?
Everybody on this indictment I split sales with.
But they were
except-
all acting independently,
Except Mac.
correct?
I ain't split no sales with Mac because he was like a smoker.
Now, you testified that when you first started selling crack cocaine, you got it from another source, correct?
From Gary. Not when I first started. When I first, I got it from Eddie Walker
Okay,
until he went to jail.
okay. And then you got it from another source.
Yes.
And you got it from other sources as well, correct?
I got it from Gary Harris.
Any other sources?
Probably Butch a couple times.
Okay. And who's Butch?
Earl Fulton.
Okay. Anybody else?
No.
Now, when
Not
you
no
were...
crack.
I'm sorry?
Not no hard.
Not no heart. Now, when you were out there and you were getting, when you said Mo or Mo was in jail, from when to when?
I don't remember when he got locked up until we got locked up.
Well, let me ask you this question. When you were out there on the 1300 block of Perkins Street and you saw other individuals also out on the 1300 block of Perkins Street, you don't know where they